Hey there everyone, this is going to be a very quick video. Just want to show off some of the changes that I've made and at least kind of visually kind of explain some of the changes that I will be making to the theme creators editor portion of the code. Okay, so what I'm going to do is punch up the theme creator, and while I have this up, what I want to do actually is to launch a test application. Let's see, test app. Alright, so I'm actually working on this piece now. If you would watch the live stream video that I did a couple of weeks ago, I indicated that I was going to make some changes to this portion of the properties window, which I'll cover in a second. You know, there was this piece where you can nest UI elements, basically parent-child, parent-child, and then the code generator, and I was happy with both, and the next piece was going to be logically the editor itself. And so this is a test application. I do this just so that I don't interfere with the main code in a working application. I just want to make sure that the bits and pieces that or the desired bits and pieces are working the way I wish them to work. So there's a couple of things within this test window. That's not going to work. There's a couple of things in this test window that I just want to cover. And so I have hover tracking. So as you can see, as I move the mouse over certain UI elements in this window, a red focus box is going around those items. Now I wish to incorporate that into the main editor, into here, so that as you move your mouse over, it will focus automatically, so you can see, and it's detecting UI elements on screen as you just simply move your mouse pointer over. Okay, and then obviously with hover tracking, you have this as you do today. So as you click on an element, it puts the in this case it puts a resize border around the UI element. Obviously not all of them will have a resize border, especially if it's set to full screen, but just for the sake of this example, the resize thumbs are present. Okay, so this is what I'm currently working with. I can tell you right now the speed in which it's detecting UI elements in this case on a window is extremely fast. It's way faster than I currently have it in any of my builds of the editor. So so I'm really excited about that. So obviously as you click, it knows the UI element that you're clicking on, and just to prove that, I'm showing the UI element name at the bottom. So if you can imagine, as I click and it's detecting the different UI elements, it's going to refresh this panel up here, position to it, and refresh all the properties. So it's super fast. So what I'm actually working on now is the actual positioning and resize and rotate of the UI element portion. Once you've actually selected a UI element, so you'll be able to rotate, resize, position, and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to show you in its current state. It's acting a bit funky, but anyway, that's the state of play as far as what I intend to do to the editor, what it will do to the editor, and ultimately it's going to be super, super fast. And just to show you something here, that this is actually a parent control right here. This is a child, and I've placed another parent control within this parent. And as you can see, even with this parent being skewed and rotated, I can successfully focus or put a focus rectangle around that UI element. And the other thing, this is quite important. In fact, this is very important. Because the tracking or the hit testing code, I'm using a different method to do this now. It's extremely accurate. So if I click, or even if I just move the mouse pointer into this UI element, just like so, it knows I'm over that UI element, and therefore it's put in a focus rectangle around it. Okay. Whereas in the current editor, certainly if something has been, certainly if something has been rotated, it still acts as a rectangle. So even if you are within that rectangle, rotated or skewed rectangle, it doesn't detect that the mouse pointer is within that region. So hit testing has been improved, not just for performance but accuracy as well, and it will work on multiple Z layers as well, obviously detecting from the top going all the way down to the background. So all of that is working very, very nicely indeed. So I just wanted to show you what I'm currently working on. I did indicate that it was in the live stream that it was going to take me a while to come up with the code for this. It's going to take a while. I think I've made fairly decent progress in the past 2 weeks. I've learned a damn sight more than I knew previously regarding these new methods, but it's still new to me, so I've still got a lot to learn. But the end result, it's going to be fantastic. I'm absolutely positive you're going to love it. So anyway, I just wanted to show this off, and I'll close this test app. And as far as this is concerned, that's because I was actually altering the editor logic and the building blocks behind the scenes, so don't freak out over that. In fact, that's what prompted me to create a test application, because I didn't want to do any more damage to the current editor. And yes, I do backups, by the way. All right, so back to the properties, UI element and properties panel. I indicated that I was going to just tweak things up a little bit, and I've done so. So I mentioned that I wanted to increase the real estate for these UI elements, because you can nest them, and therefore the nested ones will indent with connected grid lines. So I wanted as much room as possible for that, and therefore I wanted these icons to be pushed to the far right as possible. And what was preventing me was there was when you select a group, or when you select an item and the group is highlighted like this, okay, there was a menu icon in the far right hand side, and I like all these being lined up like buttons, and I couldn't really do that because there was a menu icon to the right. So anyway, I've moved the menu icon up here, and quite frankly I think it looks cooler. So this is where you can add a new group, delete a group, rename a group, add your UI elements like so. So yeah, like I said, I think it looks a lot better, and visually you can see the group that's been selected a lot easier, even though it was a change of color. But now you can see visually there's something about that group, it stands out more than the non-selected groups. Okay, so that allowed me to have more real estate with these icons being pushed to the right. And speaking of icons, the animate icon and visibility conditioning and so on. They'll slide over here. I don't know if I want them the same color or different colors yet. I'm still kind of umming and ahhing over that, but anyway, they're all right justified over here, and I think it looks pretty cool. One of the little tweaks I did make is if you click on A for animate, it immediately positions to the full area of the animations to run, so you've got access to all the buttons, and as you can see, you can delete all. So if you have multiple animations defined for that UI element, just single button press, you can remove all the UI elements. And again, you know, you can always Control Z and do an undo and bring it all back. You can do that. Works no problem. So, you know, there were just some visual changes that I'd made. So more real estate, menu icon goes up here, or menu context icon goes up here. The group names are a slightly different shade of white, and I've put a separator in there, so you can actually see the difference between the group and the elements contained within the group. So there's actually a separation between the two. All right. And for those of you that didn't watch all of the live stream, and quite frankly, I don't blame you, it was long, you can click on a group and these little bubbles appear. That allows you to scroll up and down through the list. The further you move the mouse pointer into the bubble, the faster it goes. Top of the bubble, slower. Bottom of the bubble, faster. So that way, you know, you can, like I said, you can grab a group like so, drag it all the way down to the bottom, boom. Move it all the way back up, boom. Same with UI elements, boom. Okay, so very important, just ease of use. You could argue that they should have been there from day one. Well, you know, we are in alpha, so these things get added as I use the software more, and you know, I've got time in between different builds. But anyway, those are the tweaks that I've made to the UI element list, and I think it's pretty cool. It doesn't look too cluttered. It's tried to be laid out as logical as I possibly can make it. Let's see, I'll minimize all groups. Yeah, so, you know, like I said, visually, just by eyeballing this list, you can see that this one is truly the one that's been selected versus any of the others. Even if you ignore the color change, you can see that there's something very different about it. So yeah, so anyway, that's it. I just wanted to show you what I've done so far. There are some other things that I've included in here. I'm not going to cover it right now. I'll cover the other subtle additions and whatnot in a later video when I have more to show in regards to the editor itself, once I've figured out what I need to do within my test application and start moving this code into the main application and removing the old functionality. And just as a point of interest or history for the theme creator itself, I wrote all around the editor. So all the logic that allows you to resize a UI element and move a UI element and rotate a UI element, I had written that code for a completely unrelated application more than 25 years ago in WinForms. And so when I was experimenting or toying with the idea of creating a code generator for XAML, for BigBox, I wanted to, you know, put some code together rather quickly and do a proof of concept to see if I could really do it. So instead of starting from scratch, I went with what I knew, and I essentially took the editor code from a 25-year plus application that I had written back in the day and carved it out and placed it inside an editor window, and then essentially and that was WinForms, and then I converted it over to WPF, but regardless, it was still the old code. And I started building code around the editor properties window, then the main window, so you get a preview of what the view looks like, and so on and so forth. But I actually started with the editor itself because I already had code that would, for the most part, do the job. And and it's done the job, and people have been building themes with that code. But it was never, its intention was never for this. It never supported rotation and skewing and all this kind of stuff. And the hit detection was slow because it was never built to detect Z-order layers as well. So, but anyway, regardless, it was one of the reasons why I wanted to rewrite the editor and kind of bring it into modern day, and it will work with what we're trying to achieve here. So I just want to give you a bit of a background as to why the editor is the way it is and why it works the way it works. It wasn't by design. It was really just to get something up and running rather quickly. All right, instead of learning WPF and putting the code together, I essentially just converted something that I already had. All right, I said it was going to be a quick video. I'm going to stop talking. That's what I've done so far. I'm going to continue working on my test application. So what I would like to achieve over the next 5-6 days is, as I select different UI elements on screen within the test application, I want to be able to successfully move them, drag, move, resize using the different thumbs, and rotate. That's what I would like to achieve. Once I've achieved that, then I will be looking at my current editor code and start marking where the code needs to be marked obsolete, or it needs to invoke the new logic. And then after that, I will start chopping and changing the editor window to leverage the new logic. So that's what I would like to do over the next 5 or 6 days. So with a bit of luck, I get that done, which means the next video will probably go out 2 weeks from now, or slightly less than 2 weeks from now. All right. So until then, take care, and fingers crossed, I'll see you in a couple of weeks.